recommends a Yamaha YHR671. This is Yamaha's Geyer horn. It's not their custom line, but it's their just regular professional Geyer horn. It's 600 series. It is not a Knopf wrap like the 667 is. And I'll post a picture of the 667 here. It has a loop that comes around, but it actually is a straight through Geyer design that Carl Geyer actually made. It's considered a true Geyer horn, whereas the one with the loop is considered a Knopf design. This is a pretty much stock horn. I was able to purchase this horn in a collection that I bought through my company. So this particular horn is not brand new. The other horns I've reviewed, or many of them, have been brand new horns. This particular one has a few minor modifications, but I really don't think that's going to affect this review too much. We'll talk about those modifications in the shop. You might even be able to see some of them now. I am going to be reviewing this horn with the Triggev Madsen Sonata. I think that's how you produce it. TRYGVE, Triggev Madsen Sonata. So modern horn sonata, really amazing piece written in tribute to Schubert. It's very modern sounding. It's very exciting. It's accessible though to the listener. I don't think it's one of those modern pieces that just a normal listener listening to a recital will be like, oh, that was strange. It's an exciting piece. It's good listen. It's a good play. It's an advanced sonata. It's definitely worth listening to. John Erickson, my professor, actually recorded this on one of his CDs, I think the Canto CD. So definitely worth checking that out as well. Check out this piece as a potential to play in recitals. I'm going to play a little bit of the second movement now before we go into the shop and look at the build of this horn and talk about that. Then we will come in back here to talk about how this horn plays. So hope you enjoy. So here we are in the shop, and we're going to look at some of the build quality things of this horn, some of the aesthetics. Now, this particular horn has had some modifications. These are not stock. These valve caps are not stock. I'm going to go ahead and take one off to show you they are gold colored with the engravings. So these would be off of an 871 or similar, so you can see they're gold colored. While I have this off, I'm going to go ahead and show you the valve cap assembly. Now this is very high quality build work. You look at that and you just think that is just very well made. Everything is sitting together perfectly. There's no extra space between the top here and here. It's sitting down perfectly. So, you know, there's this silver part at the bottom, the casing, and then there's this top bearing, presses perfectly down, and there's no play up and down. The valve is very tight, and with just the standard bumpers, it is perfectly aligned. Okay, so I'm really impressed every time I work on a Yamaha, especially some of these 600 series Yamahas, even some of the older ones, their valves are top quality. I really love them. This particular horn is the D model, so detachable bell. One thing that is characteristic of Yamaha is that their screw rings are a different size. So let me go grab another bell to show you this. So I've actually pulled my Schmid bell here. This is not a Schmid bell with a Schmid ring set. This is a Schmid bell that's been modified to have an Alexander ring set. By the way, this bell is for sale at voidsrest.com if you're interested in that. But if you look inside here, this Schmid bell has the Alex ring set, and like it can go on top of this bell, the Yamaha bell, which is a stock Yamaha bell. So Yamaha rings sit a little bit higher up the bell, okay, and it has to do with the taper of the bell and where they wanted to put the ring for probably tone or something. I'm not exactly sure why they chose to do this, but it is a smaller ring. And it's probably dangerous for me to try to do in one hand, but it is a smaller ring set, and that's something standard with Yamaha. So that's the screw ring. This is not a custom bell, but one thing it's a spun bell too, it's not hand hammered, but one thing I'm very impressed with is that this horn has the tone of a custom Geyer. I'd say it's not quite as good as if you bought like a Patterson, or if you maybe compared it to my Alexander Helden horn or my Schmidt horn. It's not quite as good as that, but it still has the color, the aesthetic that you would expect from a high quality Geyer horn. And it is far better, in my opinion, than competitors to this horn, like the Con 11D, the Hans Hoyer G10. Like, I've played those horns. This horn way tops them in sound quality and playability. At the same time, it's not a Patterson, but you're also not paying. I think I have this, you know, by the time this video posts, it might have been sold, but this horn I started at $5,800 used, right? You're going to pay way more for a Patterson, and this compares very similarly to a custom horn like that. I say Patterson because that is what comes to mind, and I play with a lot of people that play Pattersons, but there are other custom horns that you can buy, like Atkinson's or Medlin's and things like that. But really, just quite an amazing horn. Now, I will say there have been people that modify this, as well as the 667, which is the Knopf version, right? So it's got this loop that comes up here. And they really can be amazing. I had a West Hatch modified 667, and this is just testament to the build of Yamaha horns. That horn played like a custom horn, I thought. And it was just like, wow. So you can, if you know what you're doing, you can take one of these horns and make it very close to custom horn by putting a bell on it, maybe a lead pipe, and detensioning some things if there's tension in it, I suppose. But really, I'm impressed with these horns. I could talk on and on about Yamaha horns and how I feel like they just, you know, for a production horn, there's just nothing like them. They are high quality, and this one is no exception. Another modification this one has is this stuck foot. That's a modification. It is not stock. It would have come with a finger ring here. That would have been normal, but it's not that. So this particular model is unlacquered, as you can see. I think it's patinaing very well. And it's just a traditional Geyer horn. There's nothing weird about it. They've made it a Geyer. There's nothing weird going on with this tube. There's nothing weird going on with this tube. It's all normal, right? So really nice job to Yamaha. These valves feel amazing. You do have an adjustable thumb paddle. Okay, that's a nice thing. The finger ring that comes stock, at least on this particular model, was not adjustable. This is a nice water key, which is good. Now I want to go back inside to my practice room and talk a little bit about the playing qualities of this horn and what I think about that. So how does this horn play? Just before I start, I'm going to go ahead and tell you I'm using a Hauser San Francisco Cup 1402 with an 18 millimeter Houghton rim, H1 rim. That's just my standard setup, so it does work well with that setup. For me, of course, I always tell people try mouthpieces. A new mouthpiece, a good mouthpiece, can really change how your horn plays, especially if you're playing on a subpar mouthpiece currently. So always be checking those out. The Lasky line of mouthpieces, if you can find a Moosewood. The Hauser line, of course, is very good, so definitely worth checking that out. That aside, back to this Madison Sonata, as well as talking about how this horn plays. So, like I mentioned a little bit in the shop, I think this horn is very close to what I would consider a custom Geyer horn would sound like. One of those really well-made horns, like a Jim Patterson or a Medlin or something like that. Now, it's not the same level as those horns, but it plays competitively to them. And if you don't have the money to spend, you know, $17,000 on a horn, or something like that, or more, like Medlin's, I think, are $20,000 or something like that, or a Rauk or something like that. Any of these like real high-end horns. If you don't have that kind of money, but you want a really good Geyer horn, I think this might be one of your best options, because like the 11D, those have been hit and miss for me. The 10Ds, there's been some great ones. There's been some ones that I've played. The G10 is ergonomically strange from what I hear, and I don't love how it plays. There's other horns, but really, like, this horn might be your best bet when it comes to buying something that's as good as you can get, you know, but below an $8,000 price range new, at least at the time of this recording. We'll see where that goes. This horn used, I'm selling for $5,800, or that's at least where I started it at on my website, and like that's a very competitive price for a Geyer horn in excellent condition. The build quality is fantastic, and it plays very nicely. It's smooth. I don't have any strange clicks going on. I don't have any transient type things. There's nothing weird about this horn. It plays beautifully. No issues there. It's very smooth. If you remember my review of the 871, that is a much more expensive horn. And I like this horn way better. It's very interesting to me. This is a way better horn than that horn was. This plays louder. It plays with a more beautiful sound, in my opinion. The change valve doesn't make that awkward, awful click sound from the hollow change rotor. The valves are quick and light. I would say they're even a little more comfortable and fast. Maybe this horn's a little more broken in, so to speak, but this horn's fantastic. I'm not even sure you can get better at the price point. So here's some playing on this horn. Some things to know playing wise. The high A on some horns works well. Thumb 1-2, right? And that's how you'd be taught to play it in like a method book. That's how it works well in my Schmidt. That's how it works pretty well on an AD. There are Geyer horns though out there that works best trigger open. It's not a problem. But this horn is one of those where A works 1 and 2, but it just really slots a lot better thumb open. And the same goes for A flat. Okay, so A flat could be fingered, and by the book it'd be taught thumb 2-3, the high A flat. And then a lot of Geyer horns is better thumb 2, and that is how this horn is. It does prefer high A thumb open, high A flat thumb 2. So that is something to know if you're planning to get this. A little fingering change, really not a problem for me. I change horns all the time, and I'm used to like that kind of thing. But something to know, this particular horn prefers that. And if you have a 671 and you struggle with those notes, maybe try those fingerings. It's worth it. Trying that out, it's not a problem. If it works and it's in tune, use it. There are a lot of players that I play with professionally. There are a lot of students that I've played with. There's a lot of people that play Geyer horns or any type of horn. They have to use an alternate fingering up there, and it is not a problem. If it sounds good, it is good kind of mentality that I have. So you're going to see me using some of those fingerings in this next section. There's variation 3 of the third movement of the Madison. It's in 6/8, and it's a variation of that Schubert melody. The whole third movement is a theme and variation. So you got the Schubert theme and then Madison's variations on it. So it parks pretty high up there. So you're going to see me using that thumb open for the A. There's also an A flat in there where I'm going to use 2. So keep an eye out for that, knowing those things. As you can hear, this horn is very smooth, plays beautifully in the upper register. I'm going to give you some B flats here in a second. The B flat is great, the B is great, the C is great, no bad notes up there. If you use that thumb 2 and that thumb open for the A flat and A respectively, it is great in a high range if you do that. So here's some more, the agility side of this horn, the fast part. Variation 5 takes a completely different turn. Really very exciting after there's a muted section, and then there's this. And it's just very exciting. So it's cool theme and variations. So we're gonna go ahead and play that, and you'll hear you going up to a B flat here, and you'll hear some of the faster articulate stuff that this horn can do and does very easily. So variation 5 of Madison Sonata Movement 3. The end of the Madsen Sonata is very scary, and this horn does it very well. And the reason it's scary is because it ends on several high A's very softly. Cool sound. This is one of the reasons I think that sonata is very challenging, because you play this whole 15-minute sonata, and you have to do that. So I'm a little nervous about that. I'll be playing the sonata on my Schmid horn. But anyways, that's something that you want a horn to do well. And if you have a good horn, it will. And this horn does very well at it. So I'm going to go ahead and play the very last bit of the Madsen Sonata. It's a repeat of the opening variation, and then it ends with those high A's. So here it goes. Hope I can do it. But this horn is fantastic playing, so I'm not really worried because doesn't have a stinky note that I have to end on, you know. So if your horn has stinky notes, they're just tough, try an off-piece, maybe try some horns. And if you're trying out a horn, looking at purchasing, maybe have it on trial or something, and there's bad notes for you, and you can't seem to find a mouthpiece that works for it, especially if you can't find a mouthpiece that works for it, or maybe you don't have a way to get a good mouthpiece for it, like maybe that's not quite the horn for you if there's a stinky note in there. Sometimes you can work it out, but that's just some horn buying advice for you. So here's the end of the Madsen. For a horn to be secure like that, especially a double horn, not a descant or a triple, on that high A is a pretty big deal. So really kudos to Yamaha for a fantastic horn. Now, I recently reviewed the 871, a more expensive horn. I heard that when people try the 871 and when they try the 671, more often than not, they buy the 671. And I can see why. This is a much better horn. Now I know that I played the first version of the 871, that's the one I reviewed, and I know that they've recently come out with an 871 Model 2, second version. There's some improvements there. Hope I can try one of those horns one day. And if Yamaha sees this, or somebody who has one maybe, has the second variation of the 871, send me one of those. I'd love to try it out and review it. Get in contact with me at boydthrash.com and we can talk about that. But all that said, this horn is spectacular. I don't really know that you can do better for the price. This is one of those horns where if you're a teacher and you're trying to find a good model of horn that's going to be consistent and great for your students, absolutely the 671. It is a great choice to have them try, and it's going to be reliable, and Yamaha's known for their consistency. It's a fantastic horn. I love the low register on this horn as well. It's super consistent. There's nothing really low register in the Madsen Sonata, so I'm going to go ahead and play some low register things, and then I'll end with the beginning of the Madsen, the first movement, just some pieces from there, because I like that movement and I want you to hear it. So here's some low stuff that you might hear, low horns playing, just so you can hear the low register and hear that it is great down there and very consistently even tone across all registers. And here's a little bit of the Madsen first movement, just because it's fantastic music and I want you to hear it, and I think this horn plays it very well. I'm going to play from basically 7, box 7 to the end. If you enjoyed this review and want to see a review on the first of every month this year, that is my goal. Do like and subscribe. It does help my channel. And check out boydsbrass.com if you are looking for used horns for sale, or even some mutes and mouthpieces and stuff like that. I sometimes put stuff up there. And also, if you're in the Phoenix area and need repairs done, I do repairs as well in my shop. And so you can contact me at boydsbrass.com to set up an appointment there. Thank you for watching, and happy horning.